Coping with Tre Tailor, giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life, because we'll always be coping with something. Coping.
Hey there, and welcome to Coping with Tre Tailor. I'm Tre Tailor. We're giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life, because we will always be coping with something. Today, we're starting a series called Happy Holidays, Less Family Stress. I know this is such a great time of year, all of the family gatherings, all of the festivities, all the parties, but sometimes this is a lot of time dealing with a lot of stress, information and relationships and people that you've got to meet and conversations that are sometimes not really comfortable to have. So we're going to do a series every week throughout next year in January to talk about different facets of the conversations. My brother's going to come on. We're going to talk about siblings, although I don't have any issues with him. We'll also talk about the LGBTQ experience, how to talk about that to your family members, exes, children, and all types of relationships. Today, we are going to talk about the adult child situation. And today, my own son, Matthias Copeland, is joining us. Matthias, thank you so much for joining us. He's in Vegas. Thank you, Matt Man.
What's going on? Hey, Mom.
Hey, honey. Hey, honey. And to help navigate us through these conversations, Aaron Ashford, who is with Transcendence Counseling and Consulting, is going to join us also. Thank you, Aaron, for joining us today and for saying yes to the series.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to come right back with Matthias and Aaron in just a short, but first, your community updates. Hey, don't forget, throughout the show, you will see scrolling at the bottom of the screen information about COVID testing and also flu shots that are going on in and around South Carolina. Also, you'll find out information about how to get 5 free rapid COVID tests. The information should be on the screen by logging on to covidtest.gov. COVID vaccines for veterans at the VA. Also, the various areas that you can, thank you. Also, the various retail outlets that you can get a COVID vaccine and also flu shot. Kroger pharmacies, CVS, that includes the CVS at Target stores, and also Walgreens. In Columbia, South Carolina, you can also get a COVID vaccination at the Comet bus system. That's right, at the main location at the corner of Sumter and Laurel Streets. Plus, you can get a free ride. Catch the Comet to get your COVID vaccine and your COVID test. That's happening every day right here in Columbia, South Carolina. Also, if you or someone you know is having some challenges, registering and getting set up because, you're not always technologically advanced, you can call Get Set Up and they can help you get set up for a test. Also, financial resources, including FEMA. FEMA still is doing their COVID funeral reimbursement. You can see that information on the screen. Also, other financial resources, including SC Bar Association and SC Legal Services. They have a toll-free number that you can get rental and mortgage help. Lexington County has a bill assistance program. SC Housing and Dominion Energy has a rental and utilities assistance program. And SC Hopes has a 24-hour assistance line from the South Carolina Department of Mental Health. All of that information will be scrolling at the bottom of the screen so throughout the show. So please post and share so we can get the message to the masses. We are streaming live on the TailorMade production page. Please go over there, hit like and share and follow. That's the home of Coping with Tre Tailor. We're also streaming on our YouTube channel. We would love for you to go over there and hit the subscribe button. We also have a presence on Instagram and also on Twitter. Coping with Tre Tailor, giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life, because we will always be coping with something. We air live Wednesday for Wellness Wednesday from In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council, and also on Thursday and Friday. Again, coming up, we are going to tackle our series on Happy Holidays, Less Stress. We are talking about less family stress. And throughout the next couple of weeks, throughout January, we'll be talking about all the different conversations that the holidays bring up, because you're around family and friends so much more. So this is the time. I mean, we passed Thanksgiving. That's really a big time when people come together and have those sometimes uncomfortable conversations. But listen, we want you to get through the holidays and into the new year with less stress. And the best way to do it is to get these conversations out. And throughout this series, we'll have several counselors and therapists to help us through that. So if you have a question or a comment, we would love to hear from you. We're going to come right back with my own son, Matthias Copeland, and also Aaron Ashford from Transcendence. That's coming up next on Coping with Tre Tailor. We'll be right back.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday lives. But when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821.
Hi, I'm Judy Gatson. As a news anchor, wife, and mom, I know how important it is to take care of our health. Part of taking care of our health is knowing if you're at risk of type 2 diabetes. Prediabetes is a serious health condition and puts you at risk for developing type 2 diabetes. It's estimated that more than 1.3 million South Carolinians have it, and up to 90% have no idea. Take a moment to visit inittogethersc.org to take an online test to find out your risk of prediabetes and how to join a diabetes prevention program that takes the guesswork out of losing weight, eating better, and being more active. You can learn new ways to stay healthy and sustain those changes over time. When you join, you'll even get support from a trained lifestyle coach to help you set and achieve realistic goals. Go to inittogethersc.org, brought to you by the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina.
Visit Javis Tax Service today, 803-419-1001.
For joining us for Coping with Tre Tailor. I'm Tre Tailor. We're giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life, because we will always be coping with something. We are streaming on the TailorMade production page. That's the home of Coping, hosted by Tre Tailor. Please go over there, hit like and share and follow, and make sure you find out when we go live Wednesday for Wellness Wednesday from In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council, and also on Thursday and Friday. We're also streaming live on our YouTube channel. Please go over there and hit the subscribe button. There you will find 3 years worth of information, interviews, and content to help you cope. We also have a presence on Instagram and also on YouTube. Today, we are coping with happy holidays and less family stress. That is a time where I tell you, a lot of people are having some conversations, and we really want to get you through it. We want to help you through it. Aaron Ashford joins us. He is with Transcendence Counseling and Consulting. Aaron, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's a very interesting topic.
Yeah, you know what? I was going to ask you, is this a thing? I think it is, but is this a thing?
Very much a thing. It is it's a loaded thing. Lots of layers to it.
Yeah. And are the holidays particularly, I guess, vulnerable or challenging for people?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because holidays are that part of the year, like you said, typically families are getting together, and you've been, maybe in a position where you've avoided being around family for extended period of times. And so this, holiday season would naturally be that time where people are, kind of getting together, and it just presents some anxiety and some challenges for people.
Do people typically recognize, I mean, because it seems like people have these stressors and just go through life with them instead of either recognizing that they're a problem and then getting help for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the typical coping mechanisms for a lot of people is just being distracted. So typically throughout the year, we can just be distracted. And this is a point in time where, let's be honest, in America, the things pretty much stop about this time. Like nothing really is getting done. So it's that time when people have to kind of come to grips with a lot of things that they have not resolved for years in some cases.
Right. And as you say, they can kind of ignore it because you don't have to necessarily be around family, especially if you live out of town.
Yep. Yeah. So now it's that time. And so a lot of people are extremely anxious.
So 'tis the season for family conflicts.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we thank you so much for agreeing to join us for this series. And like I said, we're going to talk with a little bit of everything. Exes, new boos, also the LGBTQ conversation. And today we are going to talk about family, parent, child situations. My own son joins us, Matthias Copeland. He is with us from Las Vegas. Hey, Matt, man.
Hey guys, what's going on? Thank you for having me, Mom.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. So listen, Matt, I want to ask you a couple of questions first. And we don't have to start with the personal, but we can, and Aaron, full disclosure, we did talk prior to, obviously. And so we said we will tackle one personal and one professional. So do you want to talk about the personal or the professional first, Matt, man?
Well, I'll say this. We did agree. Mommy said one personal and one professional. We kind of agreed on that. I'll even say to Aaron, one personal / family, because remember, guys, this is really important that we do get through those family issues because it is the holidays as well. So I definitely want to do that. But my professional, sometimes our professional mixes with our personal. So I would like to start with the non-family. Let's go with that. Let's start with the non-family and then dive a little
That's
deeper.
fine. So let me ask you, what causes you stress with your professional life during this holiday season?
Well, Mom, for me, I do live here in Las Vegas, and I've been a alcohol, entertainment, hotel connoisseur and professional for a number of years. I think the biggest stressor for me in my life of these holidays is making enough money and dealing with the things that we deal with to overwork. I think the overwork of the holidays, because we're trying to make it because the holidays are coming, allows us to tolerate a little bit more. So I become stressed out with having to tolerate because of the financial gain, the things that we have to tolerate, the people we have to deal with who we don't honestly want to deal with, but we know those are our networks and our connections. It irritates me profusely. The biggest thing that irritates me is dealing with other people's ish. It's dealing with other people's ish. It's that take on, that weight, that everybody's got a problem. Everybody needs you. Everybody needs something. And because it's the holidays, everybody trying to make as much money as possible. They ain't paying attention to how they act. They don't care how they talk to you. They don't care how they, what they say, what they do, their mannerisms. I think it's the worst thing about the holidays is that I feel like people on the holidays forget that we're working just like you working. So when you off work and you come to sales or stream or any other job, that I went to work just like you did. So just because you were off don't mean you get to give me your attitude of you being off. You know what I mean? I think we get that a lot. We got to deal with other people's loads. Especially in the holidays, we forget that just because we're dealing with something that other people are, and that's just not okay.
Aaron, I'm going to let you take it because I'm not the professional.
Yeah.
And listen, he don't want to hear from me anyway.
I think you have to keep in mind and kind of understanding that it's a high stress time for everybody. Like you said, making money, closing out the year strong, all those things are important. But I think we all as individuals during these times have to be mindful. Regardless of the holidays, we have to practice boundaries. You have to practice self-care. in spite of the holidays, in spite of wanting to, close on a high note, because otherwise you're going to feel all of that sense of being overwhelmed and everybody's kind of dumping on you. There's a saying I like to use with my adult clients. I'll clean it up for these purposes, but like just the importance of owning your stuff, right? And we have to understand what we're tolerant of and also what we're vulnerable of. And we have to make sure we're taking care of ourselves, and understand that our emotions are our responsibility, and they're not going to take a break because it's, tis the season, so to speak. So I think if we can kind of remember that it's more of an inside out approach, it makes that stuff a lot less tolerable that we're having to deal with, and that we're all subject to this time of year. So, I mean, just a bit of a self-care. So for me, I started practicing. I mean, like I said, we always want to, close on a high note, but I started, I think last year, the year before, taking the last week of the year off just to kind of reset so that I go into my new year refreshed, because I wasn't doing that. I was really like rubber to the road, really just, trying to put the pedal to the metal. And it's like you start the year off, you're stressed, like you don't have anything to give to people. So figuring out what's going to strike a healthy balance with you so that this stuff doesn't bother you as much, if that makes sense.
Right.
Aaron,
Well, can I ask a question really quickly, Mommy? Because my point of asking that was exactly that. It's very difficult as a professional. It's very difficult in our professional life to set those boundaries and be still aware of the fact that other people are still dealing. You said that you take the end of the month, or you said correctly, if I got you right, you said the end of the month before the new year, take off. For me, that is the busiest time of the year.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask. Excuse me, ma'am, and I was going to ask, what happens when you can't take that time off?
Sure. But listen, there's nothing magical about that time. And I said, like, understanding, because everybody does something different. Everybody has a different bottom line. But finding a way, I mean, you can get balance in a day. Like, a day is a 24-hour cycle. Finding something in that day that helps you to kind of get reset. Otherwise, you're burning the candle at both ends. And I mean, it's just, I don't have to tell you, that's just a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah.
So figuring out maybe small ways to take some time, even within that time of being busy, just so that things for you slow down, figuring out a way to reward yourself. And for everybody, that's going to be different. I mean, for one person that could be meditating, another person that could be kind of taking some time to, just read or whatever, or just breathe. Mani-pedi, that type of thing, if you're into that, but we can't simply be on go. We weren't made as human beings to always be on go.
Aaron Ashford is with Transcendence Counseling, Coaching, and Consulting. He is joining us today, along with my son, Matthias Copeland, who is joining us from Las Vegas, Nevada. We can see Aaron's information on the screen. We're talking about happy holidays, less family stress. This is the season. 'Tis the season for family stress. 'Tis the season for stress. And as much of a joyous, beautiful holiday it is, people are ripping and running. You've got to see and rekindle sometimes some conversations and some relationships that either you haven't in a while or you didn't want to in the first place. But so we're talking about and kicked off this series to really try to help people realize that it's a real thing, because sometimes you feel that tension, you feel that knot in your stomach, you feel that anxiety. And Aaron, you don't know what it is. I know for me, it took me a long time to recognize that the holidays were a trigger for me after losing my mother. But like clockwork, and this was when Mattman was a kid, from November through March, I just was in a funk. I mean, I existed and I went on, but I was just in a funk because she was big on the holidays. And then January was the month she died. March would have been her birthday. But it took me a long time before I recognized that is what the problem was. You know what I mean? So I thank you so much for agreeing to come on. to really kind of help some people with this. Matt, man, did you have anything else work related?
I do, and I just really, and you said something really interesting right there. Right there is that because when you've been doing something for years, habitually, accidentally, or addictively, it's imperative to figure out how to turn it on and off. And I don't have that capability. So, you know what, I would love to see if Aaron has a method or a few methods or options of learning how to use a remote control for that professionally and personally. Because when you start to do some things habitually, and I don't know if you know, Ma, it's funny you said that. You do go into a funk. I've known you my whole life. But oftentimes for people who go into a funk, it doesn't always appear as a funk. I never noticed it was a funk for you. Because for me, what you did was you overworked this entire November through. Yeah. You were an overworker. So your distraction for your funk looked to me like over hustle. So as a kid growing up now, my over hustle is the holidays. And I don't have a remote control for that. I have no remote control for that. Because the moments I got to do with my family and then I got to go to work, I lose it because I'm doubled up. So how do I remote control that? How do I remote control that?
I think in a lot of ways we're all like wired to just like work. And I remember, when I first started working professionally, it was just ingrained in me watching both of my parents always went to work. And I had all this leave time built up. I felt like I was doing something wrong to take time off or to get sick. And I remember, for me, losing my dad in 2003, and he literally went to work on the day he died. He came in and died. Wow. Co-workers, all these well-wishers. And then I had a thought. It hit me probably about a week later. That job he worked for all those years was being advertised. Somebody else is going to do that job. And only thing your family gets is like a piece of it. And it's like, move on, right? And that's when I told myself, I was like, my life has to mean more than just getting a piece of it. So I work hard and I also play hard. That I have no problems now striking that balance. And I'm going to work, but I'm also going to reward myself. And by play, that can just be like disconnected. And I think it's something that we have to give ourselves permission to do and know that that's okay. Because I think a lot of what we were taught is that whole definition of being lazy. It's a thing called self-perseverance, right? And I think it's something that we, at any point in life, can buy into, can and need to buy into. That's really the thing. Like, okay, I'm working hard, and taking off does not mean I'm lazy. Disconnecting does not mean I'm lazy. You said something too, Trey, about with just dealing with the grief in and around the holidays and what that meant. And so that's something I had to like rethink, because I could kind of remember all those dates, Father's Day, and I just I felt myself getting sad.
Yeah.
Around that time, and anybody that knows me knows that I'm a pretty happy guy. And I just told myself, like, listen, I don't want to be sad around these times. I started really being intentional about enjoying the holidays. They've always meant something to me.
Yeah.
Even though they're different, it doesn't always have to be bad or sad. And so just being intentional about how do I pick up and make, holidays without, in my case, my dad or, another person's, a family member, how do I make the most of these holidays and honor their memory? Because they wouldn't want me sad, and holidays aren't as time. And so, since I've been doing that, just it's helped. It honestly has helped. That I think, because for me, I felt a sense of guilt. Like, how can I be happy now? And like, this person's gone.
This person's gone.
It is possible. It's challenging, but it is possible.
Well, I know for me, coming to the realization, like I said, first I had to recognize that there was an issue, that I had an issue and what that issue was. And wrapping my head around the fact that, like you said, my mother wouldn't want me to be sad. She loved the holidays. And she was the one in the family who had the parties. And, so I had to think, WWL do? What would Lucille do? You know, what would she do? And she would want me to have a good time, because let me tell you something, she sure enough had a good time, you know. So, you know, that's what it was about. Today we are talking about happy holidays, less family stress. It's a series that we kicked off this holiday season to help people deal with the stressors that they deal with during this typically happy holiday season. But family stress is a real thing. And we're doing this series to help you not only make it through the holidays, but make it into the new year stress-free. Aaron Ashford joins us. He's with Transcendence Counseling, Coaching, and Consulting. And my son, Matthias Copeland, who is in Las Vegas, Nevada, also joins us. And if you just joined us, please hit the replay button, and you'll hear some of his information that he shared as far as his professional stress. And we want to talk about his personal and family stress, because that's what we are talking about here. So, Matthias, what about your family stress? What is particularly stressful for you? If you want to share something.
I'll say family, the word itself. Family is very stressful for me. And you know, it's funny, like I love hearing you respond, but Mom, because a lot of times I don't get to understand that. And for me, you kind of always been big on family and holidays, but it did not lack your adamacy of work. You somehow found a balance to me that included everyone in the family, and you were still on the run, and no one was bothered. No one missed a beat. No one felt like they missed a beat. My biggest issue is on the holidays, I don't know how to separate the two. I don't know. Once I have worked my holiday off professionally and I get around my family, my family are the easiest people in my world to set me off, to trigger me. So
what are some of those triggers? Let's talk.
Some of those triggers
Aaron, please feel free to jump in, because I don't want to dominate this conversation.
Right. But let me say this. I think for everybody, I'm going to say one thing that is a trigger for me, and I think that is for a lot of people, is because, Mother, you are one of those people who adamantly is very family oriented. I work with people all day. My trigger is I don't want to talk to y'all to be around y'all. I adamantly want and love being around my family. But that don't mean I want to talk to y'all. That don't mean I want to play, interact, sing a song. My family is musical. And sometimes that's a win, and sometimes it feels good. But sometimes I don't want to do nothing but be around. I just want to sit in the corner and be silent for a moment. And my family is the most talkative people in the world. I was talking, we have a conversation. You ask me about this, how's it going? Don't you get around your family? And then once you get around your family, they ask you all about all your daggone business that you done had the whole daggone year. Well, how was this? And how was that? And how was this? But you don't work the same job I work. So me telling you is going to be judgmental. I won't tell you nothing. I want to talk to my family holidays. I just want to sit here and be around y'all. Because if I say anything to you about how my day was or how my month was, you don't do what I do, so you're not going to understand. It's like I'm still working to be with my family. It's I'm still working.
Quick question. Have you ever said that to your family?
Have I, Mom? Have I not said that to you guys? But you know what? You don't, because it's your family. And when you're around your family and we're social people. And sometimes we just do without thinking that we have it.
It's okay to set boundaries. It's perfectly okay to share what you feel comfortable sharing. All right. I mean, your family loves you, so you know how they are, right? And we can't always fault people. We have to accept people for how they are. So you're living out of state. So it's natural, people seeing you maybe once a year to kind of play the catch-up game.
Right. I'm playing the pleasing you game. I'm playing the pleasing you because I'm home game.
But it's okay to set boundaries and share what you feel comfortable sharing and enjoy your family.
But how do you do that? How do you do that without coming off? How do you do that without coming off abrasive or distant or separated? Because a lot of times we just do it because we please other people. We're around our family, so we'll sit and have those conversations. And maybe I won't share it all, but how do you say that without someone feeling in your family, because it's family.
Sure.
They ain't talked to you in forever, so they're just catching up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How do I say that and not be, oh, now he don't want to talk. Oh, now you don't want to talk. We ain't seen you in 5 years. You don't come home, but every other year, I might as well ask you what you did. I don't know what you're doing. No way. How do I do
I
that?
just don't think anybody would say that. I just don't even hear anybody saying that. But go ahead, Aaron.
But Mom, it's not even that them saying that. It's that conversation alone does not want to happen sometimes.
Sure. But I think you did a great job on this platform of like articulating how you felt and what you felt comfortable with. I mean, so I would just start with that. I mean, that sounded pretty clear. You got, it's okay to set like boundaries with people. It's not your concern how somebody's going to take something. That's on them. That's on them. You know, as long as you don't say it with like malice, you set your boundaries and other people have no choice but to accept it.
But with your family, aren't you? See, and this is one big thing about my family. I feel like my family shouldn't judge me the way I said. Look, the way I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying that when I'm with my family, I have taken off my mask. I'm comfortable.
I mean, a lot of people struggle with like their truth, and then it'll keep them from interacting with family. Like you said, maybe we don't know how they'll take it because he hadn't given it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
You know, so I don't think we can get caught up in worrying about how people are gonna respond to something. You know, just kind of let people know.
Yeah. No, I'll say this. What I think he was getting ready to say, which is what you were saying, is that people don't want to accept it the way he says it. And Matt can be abrasive. I mean, he can be very abrasive. So he's right. Nobody don't want to hear him be abrasive or to be rude or disrespectful, you know. And I, you know, hopefully he'll come back, because I don't want to say something about him and he's not present to you know, defend himself. But he was getting ready to say he can, you know, and his thing is, again, as he was getting ready to say, he feels like because we're family, we should be able to accept him no matter what he says and how he says it. And it's not that he's saying it. It's that people don't want to be disrespected. Yeah. And Lord, I wish he was on here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer that you could say just about anything with tact.
Yes.
You know, you apply a little bit of that, and again, that's up to another person how they're going to interpret it. But like, that's your truth. I mean, I think we all, you know, we all have these care labels, right? Like that are inside of our clothing. Like you can't look at a garment and tell how it's supposed to be like laundered and taken care of unless you read the care label.
Right.
You know, I think that that's something important. We have to kind of let people know. And as we change and grow into adults, those care labels change. But we have to be the ones that are out front, you know, articulating what those changes are.
Right.
And family, you know, really has no choice but to accept those things.
Yeah, you're right. And you know what? Here's the thing. We may not have to like it. And I'll just say, you know, for me, there are some things. I love my son, obviously, but there's just some things I don't particularly like. So knowing I can't change him, I got to change me, because I'm only responsible for me. So I know for me how much and how little I can take of it. Sure. So like you said, I set my boundaries. I can do so much of Matt Man. And mostly if it's in a group setting, because it just is not me and him, you know, one-on-one. And Lord, of course, I love him. He's my son. He's my only child. And I think he is smart, talented. He could be kind, loving, caring, but he can also be a handful.
That is true. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think we all deal with that as parents. I'm a parent as well. I mean, you know, got these, you know, 2 older kids go to college. You know, you start to kind of start owning yourself a little bit more, and every decision is not a decision that I would make for you, right? And that's tough to deal with sometimes.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's adjustments made both ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the sake of a peaceful get together.
Right. I think Matt is back in.
I was there and I'm out.
Hey, yeah, you're back. We were actually having a conversation after you left. So you were saying, Matt, just to catch everyone up, that you felt like, and I'm just paraphrasing here, you were
Mhm.
saying that um, you felt like people should accept you for how you say it. Was that what
Right.
was you going to say? I don't
You
want
are
to.
absolutely correct, and I can still hear you guys. Even though I had lagged out, it was a little bit of connection issues. Been buffering between the Wi-Fi's here and the air signal of course, cellular network. But yeah, it's hard to do that. It's difficult because when you have those conversations with your family, you're saying, I want to be able to say, I don't feel like talking to y'all about that right now, without you feeling like, oh, here go angry Matt, here go crazy Matt, he flipping out, So, but if you ask me twice, I unsnapped because I've dealt with my professionalism all of this time to just chill and be with my family. So I've had built my tolerance up. So when I say y'all, I don't feel like talking about this ish right now, it should just be okay. It should be like, that's cool. I feel you, honey. Let's go and eat this pie. You want some pie? Please me with pie and bacon. Don't be mad that and if you ask me twice and I already told you no, or if one person will say it and then the next family member will say it and they don't know that the other person has already asked. And then you become annoyed. Like, if I'm tired, now you become annoyed and tired of the family. Because now it's two people that ask you the same thing. You got to tell two people, I don't feel like talking about this. And one of them two people going to be mad about it. If, for example, if I would have said to my cousin, if we were all at family dinner, I would say to my cousin, girl, I don't feel like talking right now. She'd be like, me either. Let's take a shot. But if you say it to maybe your mother or father, they're genuinely concerned about your well-being because you don't live there. They don't want to miss the opportunity of finding out what's going on with you. And so when if they the second person that asks and it's a guy, and I say, daggone it, I'm tired of y'all asking me all these questions. You're not mad and think I'm flipping out and I'm crazy. I'm like, but why isn't it just okay? Because I am with my family. And because that when you're with your family, you have taken your mask off. I don't have to wear this suit and tie in front of my family. I shouldn't have to. It's not fair. It's not fair. I found my comfort in it by being okay with being the person that flips out. But that's not for everybody. I'm okay. I'm okay with the narrative because I know it. I know I do. I am flipping. I know I get built up easily. But for everybody, sometimes that reflects negatively. Some people aren't okay with that.
Well, here's the deal: flipping out, that's too much energy.
Is it not okay though? Is it not okay because
we're not judging it, but we don't. I don't want to judge things, but can we agree that that's a lot of energy? Like if I gotta get to the point where I'm flipping out, that's a whole lot of energy.
Or is it an exert of energy? You know what I mean? That's my question.
And at the end of the day, your family wants to know that you're okay, right? And so you may have to just get to a point to just say that line. I don't want to talk about that. I just want to enjoy time together. You may have to say that a couple times because you're right. You said that to one person, and maybe there are about 4 other family members. But like, if you gotta get to a point where you're flipping out, then that's going to make you not want to be around family, and you go into the cycle of avoidance, which is going to prompt more questions from family. Is Matt okay? And so it's a vicious cycle. I get it. I understand it's frustrating, but we don't want you to the point where you have to flip out in really in any situation.
Right, and I completely agree. But I also feel like if someone gets to the point of flipping out, shouldn't my family and everybody knows you a little differently and a little bit deeper. But if I see a family member losing it on the holidays when we're all together, something immediately tells me something's wrong or they're not okay. So if I'm flipping out and I've snapped over a simple question, that is my way of letting you know. So why isn't it I think it's more important that not just but don't flip out, but if someone in your family does flip out, see it as a sign to know, hey, let me respond with comfort. You know what I mean? Instead of being offensive because we are family. You know what I mean? I think it's important to pay attention to the signs because sometimes you can't. Sometimes I'm at the ends meet and you just happen to be the person that's around. So if I do flip out, it might not be okay, but what then?
Well, let me say this because I think Tre, you said this earlier. You mentioned the word triggers. Listen. Triggers don't exist. They don't exist. A trigger
Why
is
do you think that?
let me
Why do
just
you
say
say
that. It's a fact. A trigger is nothing more than a built-in excuse for why I'm doing something.
Mm.
So flipping out, if you're saying that family is your trigger, you're basically saying that it's okay to behave this way.
Wow.
Because family, safe target. Triggers only exist on guns, right? We're human beings, so these are learned behaviors. Any behavior that we learn, we can learn something different, especially if it's the type of behavior that's not very becoming, you know, potentially destructive. So these are things that are, you know, more or less internal issues that we have to work out within ourselves, you know. So if I walk around, I remember doing those groups as a therapist and like, hey, tell me your triggers for whatever. And these people would kind of identify these situations. I mean, so at that point in time, I didn't know any better as a therapist, really doing bad therapy, because you're teaching that person that this is
Okay.
when that condition arises, that is acceptable for you
Okay,
to,
right.
yeah, curse and smash furniture and things like that. And that's not.
And that's me. That's me, man. And I gotta be that honest. I gotta be honest. That's me. And that frustrates me. That when I get to that point, I become I'm even more frustrated, because then I feel like, and I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm not gonna say ever that it's okay, but I will always say that for me, every action has in science, every action has an equal or greater reaction. Everything, and neither you nor I, only one of us is in control of that. I am in control of my actions to choose that, but we also have a tolerance. Everybody's got a capacity. Every vessel has a capacity, and then if it has become filled, then it will also become overflow. And as humans, we've got to know how much we can tolerate and deal with. And when we are overflowed, and it might not be okay to react that way, do we omit the fact that we miss the signs? Because sometimes with my mother, I can't catch the signs. For me, now I know that my mother is reaching a limit with her silence, with her avoidance, with her my mother's a walk away, and I don't do that walk. You're not about to walk away from me. I know you're about to walk away from me. But I now see that as, okay, let me pay attention. She didn't respond. She has chosen not to do this interaction, and she has softened her voice like this and presses her lips and says, you know. So if I'm not aware enough to see those signs, then I'll keep pressing, because I'm paying attention to what it is that I need instead of paying attention to her reaction. And unfortunately, I feel like a lot of times some of us are paying attention and others of us not. Because if I can see those three things, who missed the three things that got me to drag the Christmas tree through the living room? How did I flip out and break plates and nobody caught the buildup? No, because if my mother doesn't want to talk and I keep pressing it, I'm pressing the buildup. So when she flips out, I'm wrong. But
I've taken the responsibility to change my behavior. I've taken it on me. And I think, and I think we're all responsible for our own reaction, as Aaron said. So I could clearly scream and holler and, as you say, drag the tree through the living room. But my thing is, I'm not going to say anything and I'm going to walk away, because that's better to me. Because if I'm screaming and hollering to flip out, like Aaron said, who am I hurting? Me. I'm hurting me. I'm hurting the situation, and I'm not helping the environment. Aaron, go ahead. You can.
I mean, I agree totally. I think, I think a lot of times what happens is as humans, we take responsibility for other people's behavior. That can't be any more true. Especially we see raising children, like no matter what we tell them to do, they make a choice at some point as to what they're going to do. So we don't have this power that we think we have to make somebody flip out or whatever the case may be.
So you're saying that power does not exist. So
No,
we now need to take responsibility and stop saying that you made me do it. You pushed me there. So is that what we need to do? Because I think that is an important lesson. If that's what we need to do, then how do we do that? How do we stop ourselves from feeling like, how do I stop myself from feeling like, well, you pushed me there? Because you can tell me I need to take that responsibility and I made a choice and I can agree with it. But that doesn't stop me from feeling like you pushed me there. It doesn't stop me from being like, you're my family, so you should have seen the buildup to get me there. Just because I made the choice to go there does not omit another person from being pushy or being brazen or being non-aware. It telling someone that they have to take the responsibility for their choices also says to the other person that you now have to take responsibility for your interaction. In my opinion, and if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. But I don't think that the responsibility is not shared. If I've got to take responsibility for my choice of acting, then you also have to say to yourself, dang, did I miss something? Did I miss something there that got this person flipping? Because when you see someone losing it, it's not always an instant thing. So it's hard for me that if I got to choose to be aware, why aren't you being held responsible enough to choose to be aware that I went from calm to a little bit louder to frustrating and smoking 6 cigarettes. You know what I mean? Like there's things you know about people because we're family. We've grown up with each other. You know what I mean? I know that my mother does not drink often, but I know there's sometimes when you see that she returned to that wine cabinet and a couple of extra tops. So when I see her get 3 of those, I'm like, let me go on and get up out of this house soon. You know what I mean? 3 wines and 1 tequila, we ain't doing that.
Wow.
You got to know to avoid it too. And I think it's important for me to take responsibility. I didn't avoid it. I saw that she was over drinking, and I know, girl, I must be pressing her. You know what I mean? So you know who triggers you. So you telling me triggers don't exist? No, that's not true because there are certain people in our lives that we only feel that comfortable with.
They don't. We've learned that way. And so we have to, number one, stop taking responsibility for another person's behavior. The only thing we can control is ours. Only set of emotions that we're responsible for are ours. We can't make people feel anything emotionally. I mean, and that's a fact.
We gotta agree to disagree because I do not think we do. I don't think that you cannot press someone's feelings. You know what I mean? I have got to disagree. We might not be able to control their response to it, but people affect us the way that they do.
Well, let me clarify. Let me clarify what I'm saying. Like if it was your intention to anger me, right? And I became angry, it would be because of what I thought about what you did, right? Let's say that you're attempting to anger me and I don't respond in anger. Does that mean you're not good at provoking me? Or that I chose to have a different response in that moment? You see what I'm saying?
Right. And I do see what you're saying. And that is where my question lies. How do we find the sensitivity or the remote control to do that? Because that is the hard part. Yeah. That is the hard part, is that determining between it's not just about the choice, because my control is not my mother's control. My provocations, not triggers, are not my mother's provocations. You know what I mean? So where is it not just as much her responsibility to realize the other person's provocations as it is mine to realize my choice in reacting to such? Because my mother does this thing with her lips. She presses them and she closes her eyes. And then she does this calm talk, well, Matt. And that alone, the moment her lips are pressed and her voice goes to a level 3, that provoked me. That alone was like, oh my God, I know she's not doing this. And for family, those things might not trigger us professionally. But for family and people you're comfortable with, those little things, because you care, you are aware. Her closed eye is her tolerance. Her pressed lips is her couth or decorum about how she's choosing to say those things. You know what I mean? But also in the same respect, I get, and I got to see that. But if I tell you, look, that pressed lip right there, that affects me. Is it not just your responsibility as well to be considerate to say, I know this affects her. So if I'm going to respond, let me curb that.
Aaron.
So that
in a word, no. Just, and so what you're describing is based on like relationships. And so, I mean,
How old are you? How old are you, Aaron? I'm sorry, I hate
46.
bringing this up. How
46.
old are you, Aaron?
46.
Because I think there's a difference in age. I think that you guys have that maturity. And I think what's important is that sometimes...
But you're 36.
Right, I am 36, but I'm not 40, 56. And in your 30s, you're at a different level of, you're past that temporal lobe form, right? So you're at a point where you are seasoned or trained or conditioned to some things. So, but and I've noticed when my mother got grandkids, we'll say that age when the grandkids came along, she's become such a calmer, diffused person.
I am different.
But that's not, that wasn't her at 30. That wasn't you at 30.
Right.
My age.
I'd like to think I am much more mature. I had you when I was in my 20s. So I would like to think I am older, wiser, and more mature. So no, I'm not who I was when I was raising you, Matt. Man, I'm not. Absolutely. And I'm glad of it.
Right. But because you have grown in maturity, you are where you are, is it not your responsibility to consider it, to the knowing that I am where you were? It's the responsibility of knowing where you were as a person. If I was in my 30s and I've changed and I'm now older and I've grown, then I got to say to myself, I'm talking to a 30-year-old who may be a little bit more responsive, maybe a little bit, may not be as calm, may not have gone through as much. So I got to say to myself, I'm talking to a 20-year-old, just like when Julius, my son, who my mother has, flips out and loses it. He's a 6-year-old. You got to remind yourself that 6-year-old is having a 6-year-old perspective right now.
Absolutely. Not a 36-year-old perspective. But I want Aaron to jump in here. I mean, I'm going to treat a 6-year-old different than I treat a 36-year-old.
But you got to treat a 36-year-old different from how you treat yourself. Because you're at that maturity doesn't make me there. I shouldn't act like a 6-year-old, but I gotta be a 30-year-old.
Let Aaron.
I mean,
wrap up. Go ahead, Aaron.
Obviously, we mature as we get older, right? And I think it's once we reach adulthood, however you define that, 21, 25, 30, whatever. I think we owe it to ourselves to do more self-reflecting. We want to grow. I'm different at 46 than I was at 36 and 26, right? As well I should. So it's up to us to understand, because we weren't taught this, and society just doesn't teach us. They teach us to do this finger pointing. That's what you see a lot. It's everybody else's fault. It's all the other 8 billion people on the planet, not my fault, right? It's a very difficult thing to point that finger at yourself and to start with yourself. But that's really what we all have to do. And so these are my emotions. I'm responsible for these emotions. So whatever I do, I cannot use as an excuse. I'm just talking about me, really anybody as an adult, to go out in society and I do something, I go off on someone, and I think that that's going to be an acceptable defense that they triggered me. No, I'm gonna get arrested. You understand what I'm saying? For whatever it is, because the laws are in black and white, so nobody really cares why you did what you did.
But as family, we should, because the laws don't. As family, shouldn't we? Yeah. As family, we're not dealing with the law, and that's where
I agree to a certain extent. But even when we talked about the tree and all that stuff, like me, listen. I think anger is a very normal emotion. I experience it. I visit there quite often, right? But at the same token, I still have to be responsible for what I do and keeping that anger in check, right? And owning who I am, because it is a lot of energy to expend. I mean, cursing people out, telling people off all the time. I mean, it's a lot of energy. Right. When I could simply disengage. I could simply set better boundaries. Right. I could simply tell people I'm not going to have that conversation now. I could simply say no, period, because that's a complete sentence. And I don't have to owe any explanation at that point,
But just like you are able to set those boundaries doesn't mean other people are able to check. My Uncle Chucky, for example, is an avid cusser. I learned to cuss from my Uncle Chucky. You know what I mean? And I say this all the time. But my mother, for me, it is interesting. If Uncle Chucky when we have these family interactions, Uncle Chucky doesn't even know he cusses sometimes. And sometimes because it's this conversation, my mother is not I don't know why, but she doesn't even hear it sometimes.
It's
She
my
doesn't
brother as opposed
right.
to
And
my
so
son.
that's my
I
point.
think my relationship is different with him.
Right. And I think that's the biggest point, is that if we know anything about each other, I don't think it's fair to only base it off of just what your relationship is. It's got to be off of the knowledge of that person, because you not hearing it for him, for me, it's like, I have to check. Now I have to check it. I've got to check it. And then I almost just said the D word on your live. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I
it's like,
just was raised, you don't curse in front of your parents. I mean, even,
right.
you just don't curse in front of your parents, and you sure don't curse at your parents. So I'm just saying, my relationship with my brother is different than my relationship with you, Matt Man.
But some people don't have a brother, and I'm an only child mom. You're the only
What
mother
that
I
have to
got,
do
and I'm the
with
only.
it? You do
I don't
have a
have that.
brother.
I don't have that. But so exactly. So I don't have that even in comparison. So
Right.
your comfort with your
But
brother is my comfort with Sierra. And my comfort with you is not able to be as comfortable, because I feel like I gotta check myself. I don't feel like I don't feel like I can slip up. If I slip up and curse,
But you
then
do.
you're
But you do
offended.
slip up and curse.
But then you're still offended.
Yeah. Huh?
Right, but you're still offended instead of saying he's
I don't think I'm
comfortable.
always offended. But listen, Aaron Ashford is a Guys with Transcendence Counseling, Coaching, and Consulting in Columbia, South Carolina. We have been talking about happy holidays, less family stress. My son joined us today to tackle the family stress with parent and adult.
Yeah, because there's that.
Adult child. Listen, next week, we're actually going to talk to my
We're going
brother. We're talking to my brother. And we're also going to delve into introducing your new man or woman, your new boo to the family, your ex, if you have children, sometimes the ex is still involved, and also the LGBTQ community. Matt, if you would like to come back, we'd love for you to come back. If you'd like to book a session with Aaron.
I would like to book a session with Aaron, and you know what I'm saying? I think you
If
should
you
book it
would
as
like to
well.
book a
And I'll
session
definitely
with
be there for
Aaron.
your next. I would definitely love to be there for your next week, because there's no way you're gonna talk about the LGBTQSRBW
success, for improving our life. Coping beyond hoping to do more than survive. Ways to live a healthy life. Coping and promoting, learning what you can do. 6 ways to a better you.